Where there's pesticides, you will not find bees. I was born into a family that are tea farmers. I never mentioned where the teas are grown. And then whenever I taste tea, it just did not have the flavor and the value and the quality that I was already used to. And that's what really prompted me to bring Kenyan tea to the United States. I sold out on all the teas, and I called my husband and I was like, I think we're onto something.
So just to clarify,
Yes.
you had been working a full-time job for basically
Yes.
7 years.
And one of the things I really attribute to this company is my pharmacist background, the chemistry background that has played such a big role in being able to formulate the blends. And beginning to see the viability of the company was, I wanted to give back. I tell people now, if you're starting a business, while you're doing your research about the product, get yourself mentors. If you have a dream, don't hold it back.
Well, welcome to the podcast, Yvonne. This is Yvonne with LeafBerri.
Yes.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I am doing so good. So I'm so interested in your story.
Yes.
You have such a unique product. Can you just tell us a little bit about how you got into owning a tea company?
So I am originally from Kenya. That's where I was born, and actually I was born into a family that are tea farmers. My great-grandfather started growing tea. He was introduced to tea in the early 1900s. He was brought up by missionaries. He went to missionary school, and so while he was there, we come from an area called the Aberdare Mountains, which is really just one area where the missionaries, when they came in from India with the tea, they found that area was very, very conducive for growing tea. So we started growing tea in that area, and that has been our story. I'm actually a fourth generation tea producer from Kenya. Yes. So when I when I started LeafBerri, I started because I could not find Kenyan tea here in the United States. You know how you go to the stores and we know we grow very good tea, but I just couldn't find Kenyan tea. I would go to the stores, you look at the boxes, I'm looking to see where it was grown. They never mention where the teas are grown. And then whenever I taste tea, it just did not have the flavor and the value and the quality that I was already used to. And that's what really prompted me to bring Kenyan tea to the United States.
Oh, that's beautiful. And tell us a little bit about the tea itself too. Like, what makes Kenyan tea different than the average tea you could get at a grocery store?
So tea is very sensitive to how it's grown and where it's grown, the region. So when you consider the environment, the soils, the nutrients in the soil, they affect the quality of tea. And one of the things with the Aberdare Mountains, we are very close to the equator, and we are endowed with really good, rich volcanic soils, high in minerals and nutrients. And so one of the things about Kenyan tea is the unique flavor and characteristics that makes the tea very bold and very smooth and just has a very, very good taste. And so, for instance, a lot of our teas have even won, like our Aberdare's Gold has won the World Tea Expo for quality, just because that distinct flavor and quality is very well recognized with Kenyan tea. Another thing is that as about 25 years ago, Kenya started growing a new tea type called the purple leaf tea. And that's also what makes Kenyan tea very unique. And that's one thing that we have done as a company is our focus is really on the purple tea, which is grown in Kenya. It's in the same family as your green and black teas, but it grows as purple leaves. And the color comes from the antioxidants you find in your superfoods, your beets, your berries, your purple cabbage. Those anthocyanins, or those red and blue antioxidants, are what pigment the leaves, giving it a very high antioxidant content and low caffeine. But other than that, also the black teas are known to even have higher antioxidants because of the environment that it's grown. The rich volcanic soils, the close proximity to the equator, rainfall pretty much throughout the year, lots of sunlight. So it just creates a really good conducive environment for growing a good cup of tea. And that's one of the things that is known about the Kenyan tea. Kenya is actually the third largest producer of tea in the world, the largest exporter of tea in Africa.
Oh, wow. And, for people listening, I know that you guys don't even use pesticides. How come you don't have to use pesticides like most other tea companies?
Yes, so one of the characteristics of Kenyan tea, and especially in the Aberdare Mountains where I'm from, is our teas are all hand-picked. So we do not use machines. And this really allows us to be able to really be specific in picking the best leaves. Anytime you pick leaf tea, you want to pick the 2 leaves and the bud. So it's the little top 3 leaves. That's where you get the most nutrients and the best quality of tea. Because of also the environment, like I was mentioning earlier, the environment allows us to be at very high elevations. Because of those high elevations, we do not have a pest problem. So we find we tend to not use any pesticides on our leaves. So our teas are handpicked, organically grown, and they're pesticide free. So it's a really clean tea.
And so at the grocery store, the teas that you typically see would have pesticides and would, because of that growing mechanism, would you find pesticides brewed in tea as well, you think?
Yes. So one of the things one of the things that really made me start this company was also being able to really focus on sustainability and traceability, because our customers want to know, our clients want to know where our teas are coming from. You want to know what you're drinking. And we're also at a place where, because of the advent of the AI and just the internet, people have now access to information. So what before 20, 15 years ago, where you could not get any information, now it's really at our fingertips. And as you begin to understand, okay, fine, we talk about tea. What is this tea? Where is it coming from? Like I say, go to a bag of some of these big box retailers. You don't know, it doesn't tell you where the teas were sourced from. It just tells you where it's produced, but not where it was grown. And so that's one of the things that can make it very difficult to know where your teas are coming from, because especially if teas are being grown in lower elevation where there's warmer climate, you have a high tendency to find pests. So what do they have to do to make production or have higher yield? They have to use pesticides. So one of the things that I remember this past summer, I had gone and I was I'd gone home to Kenya and I was talking to one of our tea farmers, one of our potential suppliers. He said, can you look around and what do you notice? Bees. So he says, if you want to know a place that's using pesticides, look and see whether you can find any bees, because bees cannot pollinate where there are pesticides. So if you see bees, you know that that tea or that product is clean. Nothing has been added to it. So it was such a great observation and just a wonderful wow moment to be like, wow, just bees can let you know whether a product has pesticides or not, because where there's pesticides, you will not find bees.
Wow, I've never heard that before. That is a good way to catch that.
Yes.
So kind of going back to your journey and everything, you mentioned that you're originally from Kenya. When did you come to America?
So actually, this year I celebrate my 30th year in the United States. Yes, I came here to go to college. I'm actually a board certified pharmacist. So I went to pharmacy school in Kansas City, and I graduated and moved down Oklahoma first. I was there for 6 years before I moved to Dallas. And it was in that space where, I felt there was more to me than just being a pharmacist. And that is when I just wanted to do something that was me. I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit within me, just always had that drive to do things. And so one day I just was drinking a cup of tea and I say, every time I go home, I always have to come back with almost a whole suitcase of tea, because I know I'm not going to find Kenyan tea anywhere. And so that's what prompted me to start this company and grow it from where it was 8 years ago to where it is now. And one of the things I really attribute to this company is my pharmacist background, the chemistry background that has played such a big role in being able to formulate the blends, be able to understand the biology, the chemistry behind the ingredients that we use, understand how to create formulations and ratios that have created such good tea. And our reviews tell a lot, the people who leave us reviews on the websites and the people I meet at the markets and in different, our customers, whether it's wholesale or retail, they're able to really speak volumes about our teas because I'm able to use that background that I have to be able to create and curate a fantastic blend.
I love that. And with your teas too, like we have like turmeric ginger tea. And so
Yes.
it's not just this, well, you can get just the purple tea or just the black tea.
Yes.
But these blends, tell me a little bit about where these blends came from. So it's through your pharmacist background. Was
Yes.
it because people were having some types of problems and you wanted to solve them with tea?
Yes. So I consider our teas functional teas.
Okay.
And with functional meaning they have benefits to them. So when I'm coming up with a blend, I think about what I want to serve our clients or our customers. So a lot of it is sometimes hearsay, what I hear, what's happening. For instance, let me give you a perfect example. During the COVID, I was working in the hospital, and I remember one of my colleagues, she asked me, Yvonne, have you considered creating a blend with elderberry? That was when, everyone was worried about, very scared, didn't know what to expect with this COVID. We're hearing all these mortality rates that are so high. And then they found this berry called the elderberry with all these antiviral properties, immune boosting properties, anti-inflammatory properties. And so once I started reading up on it, understanding the chemistry, the biochemistry behind it, I started thinking, okay, this is how I can formulate this purple elderberry. What do I want it to look? I'm looking at it I use all my senses. It's a very sensory profile. I'm thinking about how does it look? How does it smell? How does it taste? What are people saying? And then I use all that information to be able to think, okay, this purple elderberry, for instance, I wanted to have the purple tea because we are capitalizing on the niche of purple tea and the functional benefits of purple tea, the antioxidant content, the low caffeine. And then we want a tea where we can say, okay, how do I want it to look visually? Hibiscus is a vibrant red color, and it also has high antioxidants, great benefits also for your circulation. And then vitamin C, where can I use? Orange peel. Orange peel is very high in antioxidants and vitamin C. And then finally, what we call the cherry on the top, let's add some elderberries so that we can tackle those antiviral properties, those immune boosting properties, and create a functional blend that people can actually drink, enjoy, and benefit from it.
Wow. And so with these blends, where do you find people to source these other ingredients in?
So one of the things we do is, other than knowing, getting our logistics together for the tea, I was also very particular about where we're wholesaling or getting our functional ingredients. So we have a few suppliers around the United States where we source our ingredients. We've got a company like the Mountain Rose Herbs. They have organic ingredients. So those are the things I'm looking for. It's reputable. We can source, they have traceability, I can trace where they're getting the ingredients from and their sustainability practices. So those are the things I look for in the companies like your Mountain Rose or your Whole Herb, where we are able to source the ingredients and then use those ingredients to create the formulations or the blends that we've come up with.
Wow. And are you still hand blending all of these teas?
So most of our teas are handcrafted. So pretty much, yes, all the teas except our single source, because you can't blend a single product like the purple or natural. But our teas are all hand blended. Yes, so you're getting that attention, that detail, and that passion that goes into creating each blend. Yes, so we are what I would say a small batch handcrafted blends, artisanal blends, where we, like I say, I'm thinking about the recipes, I'm thinking about the formulation, I'm thinking about the ratios, knowing what I can use. Whenever you're blending a tea, you have to think about the 4 functional properties. Your base tea, you're thinking about the functional ingredients, you're thinking about your flavor boosters, and you're thinking about the accent herbs. So those are the 4 core elements that come together when I'm blending a tea. I'm thinking about what are my flavor boosters? What do I want my customers or my clients to enjoy when they're drinking this tea? Where do I want it? How do I want them to feel when they're drinking the tea? Tea is the second most drunk beverage in the world. So we want a tea that people can enjoy, whether you're sick, whether you want, whether you're looking for something just because you want to increase your hydration. Tea has lots of great benefits. They're doing a lot of studies. It's very good it has a lot of cardiovascular benefits, the anti-cancer benefits because of the function of antioxidants in the teas. They're doing lots of studies with cognitive function. They're doing a lot of studies with dementia and Alzheimer's. And then with the purple tea, one of the unique properties with purple tea, it has a unique compound called GHG, which is a unique anthocyanin or bioactive compound that alters how your body metabolizes fats. So even for weight management, purple teas have great weight management benefits. We even have some companies that are using it to make purple weight loss supplements with the purple tea. Yeah, so there are lots of great benefits, about tea. I think a lot of people have had bad experiences with tea, so they don't want to give tea a try or don't want to step out of what they know. And also, a lot of people just don't know much about tea. A lot of teas probably have a lot of additives to them, a lot of sugary tea. So it's always so interesting when you have people like when I'm selling at the markets or we're sampling at different areas. Is it sweet tea? And we try, like our teas, none of them have any sweeteners at all because we want our customers to be able to enjoy it as it is. But if they want to add any sweetener, they can always add whatever sweetener they like, whether it's agave, whether it's honey, whether it's some cane sugar. But our teas have no sugar at all in them.
That's actually really surprising because one of the teas that I had tasted at the market tasted almost like juice. It was so good.
Yes.
And I know my kids, we had gotten the, I think it was the purple elderberry one.
Yes.
It tastes really good.
Yes.
And it doesn't taste like tea.
Yes.
That I'm used to.
And that's what I mean when, our teas being the origin and being able to know how the tea is made. And that was one thing that was very important to me was being able to, we're a company that I say we are a direct tea partner company, meaning we work directly with the farmers. We don't use any brokers. We don't use any middlemen. I can take you right to where the farm is, where we source our teas. So I work directly with the farmers, and so that way there no the what we pay for is a fair price. So we know that the farmers are getting the fair price for the product that they are growing. And when we're able to come here, we're also able to make it affordable because we're not having to we don't have to meet up with the large bottoms or the large cogs that would come with having middlemen in the process.
That's beautiful. And speaking of that, because I know that's a huge part of your company is having fair wages for the tea farmers, but tell us also a little bit about Total Care Box and what you do there.
Yes. So Total Care Box is an NGO that's based in Kenya. So one of the things that I wanted when I was starting LeafBerri and as we were growing and beginning to see the viability of the company was I wanted to give back. I wanted to give back to my community back home in Kenya. And so I actually did a lot of research and found out about Total Care Box. And I was just really drawn to their mission. The mission is to reduce infant and maternal mortality rates in underserved communities, especially young pregnant women who have no means, have very few limited resources. They were actually founded by a lady who was a public health advocate who was working out in the villages. And she noted just the level of poverty and the paucity of no resources. And so she had just done her master's, and one of the projects she had worked on was project on the Finnish baby box. So in the early 1900s, Finland was going through a time where there was very high mortality rates. And so one of the things they realized was a lot of moms were sleeping with their newborn babies on the bed. And, that's a very high risk of, infant death because mom may fall over the baby and suffocate the baby. So what they decided to do was they started using card boxes and they put the baby inside the card box so that even if the baby did not have a separate bed of their own, they could sleep inside the card box and they would stay safe in there. So Total Care Box, she adopted that project and that vision that she saw to where now she brought it back to Kenya and to be able to put it out there to the underserved communities. And actually, right now, Finland has the lowest infant and maternal rates in the world.
Wow.
You know, it's something that, and inside this box, what I love about this box is it has supplies enough to sustain the mom and the baby for the first 28 days of life, because that's the highest risk of mortality during that time. So it has some clothes, it has a little mattress, it has a mosquito net, it's got some gripe water, especially for dehydration, oral dehydration kit. It's got diapers, it's got some clothes for the mom, it's got some cotton swabs. It's got just enough supplies where the mom can be able to take care of her baby. Now, what I also love about this is how they empower the women in those communities. They ensure that for you to get the box, you must sign up for antenatal care. So you just don't walk in and get the box. You have to sign up for antenatal care so that a midwife and a clinical doctor can follow you through the pregnancy, so that they can reduce any risk of complications, or even just reduce the risk of death that comes with childbirth.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that really just drew me to this program. And we've been doing this for the last 6 years with the program, and we give a portion of our T cells to be able to buy these boxes. And actually, since we started working with them about 6 years ago, we have given about 1,000, we've been able to donate 1,000 total care boxes to those women. And last year, during the summer, I had an opportunity to go home and take part in a donation drive with those women. And I was just blown away by just seeing how these women were so appreciative to knowing that someone out there is actually thinking about them and can do something like this. So I just feel like as a company, we're just not about tea, but we're also about giving back. And that's been such a fulfilling part of the whole journey with LeafBerri, being able to give back to the community by being able to be a part and parcel of that mom who's maybe so scared, doesn't know how she's going to take care of her baby, but she's at least guaranteed that if she takes part in this whole total care box program, she's guaranteed at least her baby has the first 28 days of their life, they're safe and sound, because they're being followed before the pregnancy, they're being seen when they give birth to the baby, and they'll be seen post-pregnancy. Yes, so that has been really, really, it's just been a very fulfilling part of the whole LeafBerri experience.
That's really beautiful.
Yes.
So walk us through kind of this journey. You've been in business for 8 years now.
Yes.
What was it like starting out from basically ground zero?
Yeah. I remember, so I had just had my third daughter, and I just was not feeling very fulfilled with my job as a pharmacist in the hospital. I didn't see where I was going to go more with it. I just felt like I'd reached almost the ceiling with where I was in my career, and I was just itching to do something. So when I started off with LeafBerri, it was supposed to be, I had thought about doing it as a ready-to-drink tea company where we would bottle tea and sell it. So I did my research. I went to the SBA office, Small Business Administration offices, to talk to a lot of the advisors there. And, after doing a lot of just field research, we recognized that was probably not going to be the best place to go, because the capital that would be needed to start was going to be immense. And so one day I was walking in Market Street, and something told me, just go to the tea aisle and see what you see there. What the teas that they have there. And I remember, and I said, and look for purple tea, see whether anybody has purple tea, because actually, interestingly enough, I just found out about purple tea about a year or two. And I remember reaching out to my parents and asking them about the purple tea, like, have you guys is this something new? They said, oh yeah, we've been having this tea. I said, how come we're not talking about it? How come people are not talking about, I'm not hearing much about it, about the benefits of this tea, and even just not from a health standpoint, but even from a financial standpoint, because it's grown as a specialty tea. So it commands a higher price, even in the auctions and in the tea markets, Yeah. So that was one of the things that I felt, this would be an opportunity to bring tea to the United States, and then also have this this special opportunity with this unique niche, which is the purple tea. So I said, let me go to the stores and see if there's anybody who has seen this purple tea or it's on the aisles. And I remember walking through Market Street and there was nothing. I pulled a box. I said, pay more attention to the boxes. It doesn't tell me where the tea is coming from. It doesn't show me that this tea is grown in this area. I can only imagine it's probably coming from your big producing countries like India, China, maybe even Kenya. Because one of the things about Kenyan tea, being that we produce so much tea, we sell it as a commodity instead of a specialty product. So because it's a commodity product, it doesn't get that recognition.
Yeah.
It's used mainly to even blend with other teas to bulk up the quality, to upgrade the quality of the teas. So as a commodity product, it's just like anything out there. Nobody knows much about it because it's not being given special mention. So with the purple tea being a specialty tea category, and also I after I did a lot of research, I narrowed it down to the orthodox teas, because teas is processed in two ways. You have a CTC method and you have an orthodox method. The CTC is your regular, what you find in your tea bags, the little almost granules, very powdery. It's what CTC stands for, is crush, tear, and curl. So they'll take the leaves and they'll crush them, tear them, curl them, roll them, dry them, and it's done. So it comes out as little pebbles. But the orthodox method is a more elaborate process in producing or processing the tea. It goes through some they'll allow more depending on what teas you want. It'll go through a rolling process. It'll go through a drying process. The process is so much more elaborate, so much more delicate. And one of the benefits of orthodox process is it allows to maintain the nutrients of the tea. So when you look at an orthodox leaf versus a CTC leaf, it has more antioxidants or more nutrients than a CTC tea. So that was one of the things that, once I narrowed down and recognized, I want to start doing something. And the tea became a very natural thing because we grow the tea. I can't find it here in the United States. I now narrowed it to, I want to do the orthodox. I want to just focus on the orthodox because of those benefits of the orthodox tea. And it also commands a better price in the market. And so that's where we started from. And so I remember doing a lot of research. Actually, before I started LeafBerri. I want to say it took me about a year just reading up on the tea processing, just so I could understand it. You can grow, you can live in it, and you just assume you know a lot. Until now, as you're doing your research, you start finding, oh, I didn't know this, or oh, this is more added information that is going to be useful. It also gave me that opportunity to look at functional ingredients, like, okay, what do I want to create? So once I started kind of narrowing down, I knew it was the orthodox. I knew it was going to be purple tea was going to be our main tea, but then also I wanted to do some orthodox in the green and black and yellow categories. It was now beginning to see what's trending, going and reading like magazines like Beverage Industry at that time, every year, trying to figure out what's trending so that you're capturing that market or being able to capture the interests of people, And once that started, I remember my first show was actually at my hospital. They had a Christmas show, and that was in November. And I remember reaching out to them. It was 2018, and I said, "Hey, I know we have a show, and I would a Christmas show, vendor show, and I have a product. Can I bring it in?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, sure. Bring it in." And I remember we sold out.
Wow.
We sold that first market. I sold out on all the teas, and I called my husband, and I was like, I think we're onto something.
Yeah. And
yes,
I think that's such a big point that so many people miss when they go into business.
Yes.
Is they don't do that research. And,
Yes.
and it looks like from the outside you're not doing much, but you spent an entire year.
Yes.
And the fruit of that was selling out at that first market.
At our first market, we sold out. And I remember I was just shocked.
Yeah.
I think we had about 4 blends. We'd come up with 4 blends. And I remember I was so nervous because I didn't know how people were going to receive it. But I was just amazed at how, and I remember that time, we still had the original, it was just the little bags and a sticker on it, you know. And I think it really excited me to see that there was potential for something that could grow out of this. And so that's how it started. It was that one Christmas show in 2018 that got me started with LeafBerri. And as of right now, we have about 14 blends.
Wow.
Yes.
That's amazing. So after the Christmas show, where
Yeah.
did you start going? Did you start selling online? Did you start going to more markets?
So once I started with that market and I saw how it was well received, it was now beginning to figure out, okay, what's the next steps?
Yeah.
And so that's how I was also introduced to farmers markets. And farmers markets have been great. I have really enjoyed farmers markets because whenever I have a new blend, that's the first place I go. That's the first place where I have that one-to-one, real physical. They're right there. They can taste it. They can tell me when I'm working on a new blend, what's working, what's not working, and for me to know, okay, is it time to invest more into it in terms of getting more ingredients, working on the design and everything. So I love farmers markets. So we started doing the farmers markets. In the meantime, my husband, who's in IT, started also building us a website so we could be able. So actually, my husband is the behind the scenes part of the company, and he says you are the front facing part of the company. So he's the one he was taking the photos and everything and building the website.
Yeah.
So our first website was my husband who helped me create our first website. So it's just been so interesting to see the progression of that first. Sometimes I wish I had even taken some pictures, and that's one thing I didn't do, so that I could just see the progression. Because sometimes as a business person, you need to see that growth. You need to see where you were and where you're going, or where you are at that point, because businesses have their waves. Sometimes it's really good, and sometimes it can be pretty discouraging. Another thing was, once, we started, and so that's what we started doing. I started doing a lot of farmers markets. We started growing our online presence, getting onto Instagram and Facebook, and just being able to start also reaching out to different whole retailers, especially more from your tea boutiques, because we are more of a specialty tea category. So our focus is on wholesale customers who are reselling the tea under their own. So we have what we call white label, and then we also have like your boutique stores, like your health markets. Those are really pretty much our target audience. It's those people who are willing to spend a little bit more money to get a good cup of tea. Yes.
And I love that you said it kind of goes up and down, and we focus so much on the success side. Can you tell me about maybe one or two times where you felt like giving up with this business?
Yes. So one of the ones I remember, I was up until January 7th of 2025, I was still working. And January 7th, 2025, I got laid off. Yes. For basically 7 years, I was working full time while running the business and growing it. But I was beginning to feel I was getting to that place where I was ready to transition, or just felt like we were at a place where the business was able to stand on its own, and it was not requiring me to inject any money into it. It was now sustaining itself. It was making a profit, it was turning over a profit. And so I thought maybe I'd have another year or so to go, but then, as fate would have it, I got laid off. And I decided at that point that I was going to take a leap of faith and just focus on the business. And I'll tell you, it is a very big transition moving from full-time, where you're used to getting a paycheck every 2 weeks, to where now, some months are good and some months are not good at all, And there are times, where I have actually asked myself, did I make the right decision? Especially on months that are not easy, For instance, the beginning of the year is a tough time of year. People are just coming from the holiday break. So a lot of people have spent a lot of their money. Then the economy too affects people, wholesalers, or, especially my wholesale clients. People are holding back, saying, okay, we're not ready to make any orders. So, I think that's some of the things that have been challenging is when you have a product that, is affected by even the outside factors like the economy, just, especially the economy, and people also preferences changing. So you're always having to try and keep up and figure out how can you keep yourself innovative, But yes, there are many times, where I've questioned myself, was this, did I quit? Was I too premature? Should I have looked for another job? But I believe so much in what this company is all about, and just the vision that I know was a God-given vision to really go with this, stepping forward by faith and walking the faith journey with this business. But yes, there are times when that faith is tested.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
That faith is tested, and I have to take myself back to the why.
Yeah.
Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? I'm doing it because I love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's so profound, because so many people, I feel like, go into business sometimes for the wrong reasons.
Yes.
And then when those tests hit, that's why we see, like, 2 years in, so many business owners quitting. But for you, it was a 7-year journey of you working full-time and having a full-time business.
Yes. And I think that's one thing that, I think social media can be very, what's the word I'm trying to say? Deceptive.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to see everyone being very glamorous on it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you don't see the raw behind the scenes when things can be really rough,
Yeah.
when you maybe had a client that was probably your biggest client, and then they just ghost you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. They just ghost you, and now you're trying to figure out what does this mean? Am I making the right decision going forward? But it also tests I'll probably say having a business is a lesson in character development. It teaches you patience. It teaches you a lot about your creativity, and it stretches you a lot. It makes you think about things that, for instance, I just recently got onto TikTok Shop. I do not like doing lives. I am camera shy. That's what I probably call myself. But I'm realizing that, we're at an age or this season, even in the business and where people want to connect.
Yeah.
People want to connect with the person behind the brand. You can't be selling all the time. You have to connect with your audience. You have to connect with the people out there who are listening to you. And that means I have to step out and push that camera shyness and be like, you know what? I'm going to step out. Doesn't matter whether my face is made up. It doesn't matter what's going on. Just start stepping out. Let people know you. Let people see who you are. Let them connect with you.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's in that place they can also see the value behind your vision.
Oh, yes. No, that's so true. And that's a big thing I always tell brands, because, if we saw your tea, no face, no name, I might not buy it. But knowing the story, knowing that, wow, this is pesticide-free, like handcrafted artisan tea by a 4th-generation tea farmer, that's so different. That makes it commands higher prices, and because you know the quality, you know the story. I love that. So how has TikTok Shop been for you? I know it's like a new venture. So for people who want to get into TikTok Shop, and I had a client I started working with on behind the scenes, on not live, but they just were uploading their stuff to TikTok Shop.
The shoppable videos.
And it was really a challenge for them to kind of change their mindset. And a big part of it is like the campaigns to give people free samples so they'll promote it and all this stuff. Different from the live side of it, because you don't really have to do that. You get to kind of be your spokesperson yourself. But what are those challenges? Like, what have you learned from doing that?
So I feel like TikTok has its own language.
Yeah, it does.
It really has its own language. So right now I feel like I'm learning French. English speaking, learning French. And so one of the things I did was I spent a lot of time watching other TikTok lives, watching a lot of live shopping experiences, so I can understand the nuances and see what it is. And then I had to get over that camera shyness and say, I'm just going to do it. And I think when I did my first TikTok, I forgot to pin my products, you know, but you know what? So far, I haven't had any sales as I'm doing the live, but I've gotten sales post live.
Yeah.
You know, so it's encouraging. You know, I felt because you know when you're watching some of these guys and they just say thank you for the order, thank you for the product, and you're like, oh, this has got to be easy. Yeah. I should be able to do this. And then you get on and then you realize it's not that easy because you have to find a way to connect with the audience. You have to find a way to be engaging, you know, with the audience. And so those are things that I'm learning. But I'm still going to do it. I'm going to do it until I get it. Yeah. You know, because I'm always looking at if they can do it, so can I. What's so special about them or what's so different about them? You know, if they can do it, I can do it. You know, if it's watching, you know, one of the places that has been very helpful has been the TikTok Academy. Mm-hmm. You know, lots of free information, but very useful information, you know, that I can actually apply. You know, when I think about December, when I started off and where I am now, what I know about TikTok that I didn't know 2 months ago, you know, but it's also taken a lot of research, a lot of reading, a lot of spending time reading a lot of the articles on TikTok Academy, because at first I was like, I don't need to read this until I got onto it and I realized this is a different beast, you know? Yeah. So that has been, it's a good challenge that I'm purposing that at least every 7 to 10 days I'm doing a live. Yeah. Hopefully I'll get to where it's more and more, but that's mission is just staying consistent and not giving up.
No, that's so good. And it's so funny you mentioned that too, because I just finished up a 5-day challenge teaching people TikTok. Yeah. And it was so funny because I was doing such the basics, I thought, in my mind, but it was really like a foreign language to these business owners. Yeah. And I love your mindset to just persevere, because a big thing that a lot of people I think say with TikTok is they're like, oh, the algorithm doesn't like me or whatever. But actually the algorithm wants you to succeed so bad that they have the Creator Academy, they have like Creator Search Insights where they show you literally what people are searching so you can make a video on it. Mm-hmm. And it's because they don't have enough quality content. Yeah. And it takes time to learn to create that quality content, which is so true. Yes. Because you can look at a piece of content and say, oh, that's a really good video. Mm-hmm. But like you said, when you go to do it, it's like a whole different story. It's a whole different story. You're like, wait, I thought I could, especially those like talking head videos. Yes. I think people are always like, oh, I just have to film in my car. And true. Yes. But you also, the people that are really good at it are really good speakers outside in life. They've been preparing for just turning their camera on. That's it. That's one of the things and that I realized that, you know, like for instance, when I've watched you on your talking videos, your talking heads, you're great. Oh, thanks. You know, I love listening to what you say because you have lots of great nuggets of wisdom. I love that. You know, things that I'm like, she says a lot of things that, like you say, if you pay attention to what I'm saying, you're going to do very well. So I've taken note of that. You know, I've really taken note of when you say that. So it's to encourage you to continue doing it because we're listening. Yeah. We are listening. We are really listening. But it's just being able to be in a place where you're ready to, you're vulnerable to learn and you're humble enough to do it. I think, I think sometimes you have to get over yourself. Yeah. Stop being too much into your head and just be like, just do it. Just do it. If you mess up, how will you know unless you do it? Yes. You know, if you just say the wrong thing, you have another chance another time. That's true. And practically, if you mess up, the algorithm's only going to show it to 2 people anyway. Exactly. Who cares? There's 2 people got a bad video. Exactly. But no, that's so true. And I love how you said that too. Like, you just have to get over yourself because that is what I see with a lot of clients too. Yes. It's this perception that people are going to, you know, judge you. And I will say some people do, like, especially, but I think TikTok and why it's so beautiful is I don't get the same hate comments on TikTok that most people get and that I have gotten on like YouTube and Instagram
Yeah.
and Facebook, which it's perfect. It's almost the perfect place for training wheels to do the rest of the social media.
Yeah.
Because it's so true. Like you really can be yourself and practice and learn on that platform.
Yes.
And they're forgiving.
Yes, they are. And also I like the fact that I feel like it's you can be yourself.
Yeah.
You don't have to, I think that's one of the things as a business owner, you're stepping into this social media space and we are, I think, in that place where you can't ignore it anymore.
Yeah.
Social media is here to stay, and it's only just going to get bigger and bigger. You've got to stop. You've got to get out of your head.
Yeah.
You really have to. There's no other way you can really put yourself out there. And I think when you think about it, there's such free platforms right now.
Yeah.
Where you can use that time to just refine your talent, and refine your delivery on how you do the stuff, whether it's doing a live, doing a posted video, whatever it is, it's a wonderful place to do that. Yeah, it's just really getting out of your head. I think that's the biggest thing, especially for us who are a little older, who are not feel like, oh, I don't know, I have to look the part. I know I struggle a lot with that, feeling like I have to be on with makeup. I've got to make sure I look right because, but then you go to some videos and you're like, how did they do that?
Yeah, and no makeup videos
and they are okay,
They do
so it's getting out of that. But then how else will I put out the message about the product, there's so many, it's the tea industry, for instance, there's so many tea companies out there. You've got to find your voice and resonate. Your voice has to resonate with other people who are listening. It has to resonate. Really has to resonate. So it gets out of that whole saturated market. That people can hear your voice and they can connect. So that's one of the things. I'm really passionate about educating people about our teas, about how to, I'm at that place where I'm recognizing, even being able to teach people the simple things like how to brew a good tea.
Yeah, because I don't know. I'm somebody who microwaves my
water. A lot of times, like for instance, on our bags, we're always looking to make sure there's a brew guide.
Yes.
So at the very least, but then just having a brew guide is sometimes not enough. You got to show it.
You do,
You got to show how to make the tea so that people can see, okay, fine. Why is she saying, for instance, this tea has got, the temperature is here is only 175, but when I look at this one, it's telling me 212. Why? Then being in a position where, you've educated your audience to know that the processing of the tea affects how you're going to brew it. If it's an oxidized leaf like your black tea, your black tea is fermented. It can withstand very high temperatures. But then you go to a white tea, you go to a green tea, you go to a purple tea. Because it's not a fermented leaf, it's just a steamed and dried leaf. It's very sensitive to heat. So if you heat it too much, guess what? It's going to burn the surface of the leaf and it releases tannins, and that's what makes tea bitter. If you let it sit in the water for too long, like a green tea or a purple tea or yellow tea too, if you let it sit for too long because of the fact that the leaf is not an oxidized leaf, it also softens that top layer. The tannins are released, and that's what makes it bitter.
Oh, see, that's so interesting because for me, when I do tea, and this is probably the worst way, I have a kettle now, but I still sometimes microwave the water, and then I keep the tea bag in the whole time I'm drinking it. And that's not it.
That's not it.
Okay.
Tea is, can I call it bougie? It is bougie. It's sensitive. The brew guide is there for a reason, If you microwave tea, think about all that heat is going right on the leaf. And it's just tearing it up. It's just, so it just releases, you're burning the leaf, that concentrated heat, So what you end up with is a cup of tea and you're like, what is this? This is such bad tea, So that's one of the things about the teas, we're big on working on, and that's also something I feel like I really need to do more and more of, is educating people about how to brew a good tea, and educating people about the herbs, educating people about the base teas themselves, so that when they're drinking a tea, they have a clear understanding of the product and they have a better appreciation for it.
Yes.
Yes.
No, those videos would do so well because just those little bites,
Yes.
like you're saying, people just showing people how to actually boil their water is a video. You know?
Yes, yes.
Oh, I love that.
Yes.
Because then also it's like, you know, I have a kettle, and how do I know what temperature the water's at?
Yes. And so, and I always, a lot of times, like when we're at the markets, I'll have someone, I'm going to explain to them, hey, this is how you need to make the tea. I'm like, but I don't have a kettle that has a temperature gauge on it.
Yeah.
What can I do? So I tell them, if you're making a black tea, it can let the water boil. But if you have a kettle and it doesn't have a temperature gauge on it, either don't let the water boil, or once you start seeing the bubbles beginning to form at the bottom, then you know that's not boiling water. You know, it's just the bubbles are beginning to form. Then you can brew your tea. If, for instance, you forgot and you had the tea, let the water sit out for about a minute.
Yeah.
Then you can have cooled down enough to where you can introduce the tea leaves into the water.
Oh, and then how long would you let them steep in the water?
So depending too on the type of leaf. So if you have a black tea can stay longer in the water because it's an oxidized fermented leaf, compared to a purple or green tea, because it's not fermented, you cannot let it sit for past 2-3 minutes. So those are the factors. Another big factor is the type of water you use. Tap water contains a lot of minerals. And so what happens is they dull the flavor of the tea because the minerals will interact with the tea leaves and they can give it a very weird taste. So we always encourage use filtered water, use bottled water, so that you can really get that crisp taste from the tea. Yeah, it really is affected by the type of water you use.
That would make sense.
Yes, so you're always going, and also of course how much tea you use. You know, all our tea bags here tell you how much tea to start with. You know?
And yours loose leaf, so
yes.
You know, do you even recommend I see those tin containers to put it in versus like silicone? Does that ever affect the taste?
So they don't affect the taste as long as you're using it's food grade material. Okay. So for instance, even from our suppliers, we want to make sure they're using food grade materials for the packaging. You know, so tin containers, you want to make sure it's in a food grade container because the fact that it's food grade, it's keeping the food safe. Yeah. You know, like our bags have that aluminum barrier in it, which is a food grade aluminum barrier that prevents the teas from getting air and moisture. Because remember, tea is a natural product. If it's exposed to air and water, because it's a plant, if you let it sit out, it's going to get stale or it's going to get mold. Yeah. So that's why we make sure our bags have that barrier proof lining so that as long as you keep it sealed on the bag, right here, because there's a zipper right here, you can just close it in. Tea is good for about 2 years, but all our bags also have an expiration, and we normally give it 18 to 24 months. But really, to be honest with you, as long as tea is kept in a cool, dry place away from sunlight. So like in your pantry, you keep it away from sunlight or exposure. So one of the things I don't care too much for is the glass containers because it's open. It's still got it's open. It's not a dark place. Yeah. So remember, because it's a tea, it's gonna just it's gonna degrade quicker. So you always want it. I always prefer, if you're gonna keep it, either get a dark container. But glass containers are aesthetic. They're very beautiful. Yeah. But in terms of shelf life or stability, they will, over time, they'll degrade the properties in the tea. So I always like to use the dark containers that encloses the whole tea, or even a tea that has, so for instance, our bags just have the picture of what the tea looks like instead of having the window. Oh, because the window is also going to have exposure to sunlight and it'll just make the product degrade quicker.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
See, you've really thought about all the different things, because it's not even just about putting it in any bag. You've had to go down to the very small details to make it.
And those were things that I did during that 1 year of research as I was trying to build, as I was building the company, as we were trying to figure out what it was all about. Looking at our competitors. Yeah. What are they doing? Why are they doing it? And then do research. Why did they use this container? Why are they using this container that looks like this? Yeah. Why are they doing this? So that I can understand what those mean.
What would you say your best advice for a business owner in doing research? Because I feel like so many people say do research, and then some people say they did research, but
Yes.
but they really did not do research. Like what makes thorough research?
It cuts down a lot of time, wasted time, resources, and money.
Yeah.
When I look back as a business person, what are some of the things I would do differently? I'll probably have started with a team.
Yeah.
I would have started with a team. I would have allowed myself to be surrounded with people who've either done something similar to what I'm doing longer.
Yeah.
So that the mistakes I've made over time, I would have reduced those risks of the mistakes I have done.
Yeah.
Kind
of like a mentor too.
Yeah, start a mentor, I didn't because, I wish I started with an accountant from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Started off with or just even having an attorney, that's someone you can talk to, or have those mentors who can keep, because I know so when you're starting off, you don't have the money to do that, especially for us, we are self-funded.
Yeah.
We didn't take any loans. We self-funded the project from the very beginning. But being able to network with organizations like the SBA or local chapters where you can get information or network with people who can help you understand things so that it also doesn't take you too long to get to a place.
Yeah.
I think those are some of the things I wish I knew then that I know now that I tell people now.
Yeah.
If you're starting a business, while you're doing your research about the product, get yourself mentors. Get yourself mentors so that you can reduce that risk of the mistakes that you could potentially make doing it on your own I'll probably say doing it blindly because that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's one thing, like being in mentorship, I waited probably like 2 years into business, and it's completely, the ROI on having a mentor is so much bigger than when I was trying to do everything on my own.
Yes.
I 100% agree with that.
Yes.
No, it's so important.
Made a difference, even just being able to be like, okay, what I know now, I wish I had implemented 5 years ago. I think I would have been so much further. But at the same time, I don't look at it like, oh, that was a waste of time or money. It's a learning opportunity, and I can tell someone else who's starting, this is what I would do different. But then from then also, it still taught me a lot of things. I learned a lot. There's so many things that I know now that I didn't know 7 years ago, So those are some of the things that, I wish if I had known, there probably have been quicker steps to get to even be probably even bigger than what we are right now.
I love that.
Yes.
Well, just in closing, like I've loved having our conversation, and if you want to get in touch with LeafBerri, her website is below. Is there just anything that you want to leave the listener here about your tea, about your journey?
I will say first, if you have a dream, don't hold it back. Don't let it. Don't be. I wish I could. I wish I coulda. Just go for it. You don't have to start with everything in place. Just start. Just start. I remember even after that 1 year, I remember after that first show, I'm like, maybe I could even have done this earlier, but that's okay. But I always tell people, just start. Just start. And also another thing with regards to our teas is just being in a place where we can, when you buy our teas, you know where your tea is coming from. Not only is it good for you, you're also doing good for others. You're partnering with us with the Total Care Box. You're partnering with us by helping our farmers being able to sustain themselves, because when we buy, they also benefit.
Yes.
So it's not only are you getting a product that's good for you, but it's also doing good.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's one of the things that, I feel to our listeners out there. First, if you have an idea, go for it. Just do it. Just do it. Sometimes try, and what do they say? Fake it till you make it. But just try it. Don't let your inhibitions or your worries or your fears hold you back. Just do it. It's better to say I tried versus I wish I had. You right? And also just knowing when you're drinking our tea, you are just not only doing something that's good for you because it is good tea, but you're also doing good for others.
I love that. Thank you so much. And yes, if I were a listener, I would definitely go and get the purple elderberry one for this season.
Yes.
And this one too.
Yes, the turmeric ginger. This time of year, the elderberry and the turmeric ginger and the purple tea have been actually our purple tea has been our best seller of 2025.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay, well then go get that one for sure. They are really good. Not sponsored, just 100%. They're really good teas.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Courtney, for this platform and just giving us an opportunity to talk about our dream and the vision we had behind LeafBerri.